I'm sorry, we're going to go ahead and get started with this public hearing. I just want to make sure that we have a quorum, so if we can please have our board members identify themselves. I'm present.
Fernando Castillo, present.
Okay, Eva Castillo's present. Mr. De Los Rios? Okay, are you unmuted? Because I couldn't hear your voice. Okay, now you can say you're present. Present. Okay, we've established a quorum. We're going to go ahead and begin. Ms. Castañeda?
Yes, this afternoon we have Mr. Perez, our Assistant Superintendent for Business and Finance, who has the public hearing on our budget and our proposed tax rate for the 2021-2022 school year. Mr. Perez?
Let me just go back. We don't have anybody for public comment, correct? Correct. Okay, now you can begin. Just wanted to make sure.
Okay. Good evening, members of the board. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Great. Well, good evening again, members of the board. For those of you who don't know, my name is Alfonso Perez. I'm the Assistant Superintendent for Business and Finance. Today, we're going to be discussing the budget for the 2021-2022 school year and of course, our tax rate. And I'll give you a brief rundown, of course, on the district budget. It's something that is revised. It's an annually revised document that describes the financial performance and the detailed financial allocations made to maintain district operations for the proposed year. And of course, we're also going to be discussing the property taxes, how they're levied and how they work, and what our tax rate for this upcoming school year is. Okay, the tax rate is the amount of dollars levied per $100 of taxable value after exemptions. The result amount is called ad valorem taxes. The proposed tax rate for this year for maintenance and operations is 0.9903, and for interest and sinking, it's 0.126, for a total tax rate of 1.1199, which is actually a reduction of the tax rate from the previous year. The revenue was estimated using an increase in student enrollment and an average daily attendance. The projected increase in student ADA is 149 for this upcoming school year. The tax rate for maintenance and operations decreased, and this is what I was talking about, from 0.9914 to 0.9903, and this increase includes the 0.03 in disaster payments that we had. I believe Mr. Cavazos and Ms. Cancino had discussed in the previous budget amendment. The budget also reflects a substantial pay increase for all employees. All teachers will receive a $2,500 pay increase. Administrative professionals will receive a 3% increase from the midpoint. Instructional support and clerical support will receive a 5% increase from their new midpoint, and auxiliary support will receive a 9% increase from a new midpoint. The estimated cost of the pay increase is over $5.3 million. On another note, the employer contribution for health insurance was increased from $505 to $550. The estimated cost of the insurance increase is $1.2 million. These are the proposed annual budgets for Donna ISD, for the general fund, food service, and debt service. The general fund, the revenues the estimated revenues are $158,885,058. What we expect to spend is $156,385,058. So we should increase our fund balance at the end of the year by 2.5 million, approximately. Food service, the revenues are $13,726,836, and we expect to spend about that same amount. And the debt service, of course, what we collect from local taxes and what the state provides us with will be 5.7 million, 5.725, 735. Here it goes into more detail. It explains each different function, from the general fund to food service to the debt service. And if, the beginning fund balance as of September 1st, 2021 should be about 54,668,000 for general fund, and we're expecting to end the year with 57,168,000 And yes, we're being conservative. And then, of course, going through the food service, we should end with a 4.105470 and the debt service at 5.440146. And this is a proposed budget for the general operating fund. I don't know if you would have any questions on it. Okay, and then we have the how much goes into from every source. The percentage. Local sources is 22 million, state sources is 132 million, federal sources is 3.5 million. And it gives you the percentage from each one. And again, here we are the expenditures by function and major object. We explain payroll costs, the professional and contracted services, supplies and materials, and the other operating expenditures. Debt service and of course capital outlay. And there's a percentage again. Payroll is 81%, contracted services is 8%, supplies and materials is 4%, other operating expenses is 4%, debt service is 1%, and capital outlay is 2%. And there's a total estimated revenue of 156,385,058. And here's the food service one. The local sources, state sources, federal sources. The local sources is 226,609. State is 55,712, and federal is 13,444,000. And the total expenditures we should be balanced on that. We should end up with 13,726,836 on total expenditures. And here's a summary of total revenues by major source for food service. Of course, 98% being federal sources, which is most of it. Then expenditures by major object. And then the debt service, which is, there it is. The local sources, what we collect in taxes is 2.4 million. The state sources is 3.3 million. So the total debt service is 5,725,735. It's the same thing right there, 58% to 42% from state sources and local sources. Any questions on the budget?
Mr. Perez,
Yes, sir.
I know it's not exactly with what you presented, but I think it's relevant with regard to budget. We're still in operation with the 2021 budget till August the 31st, correct?
Correct. That is correct. Yes.
Yeah, I know you mentioned there, you were talking about service department. Are we able to, is all that being utilized so that we can zero out by August the 31st?
Yes, sir. That is a plan.
Okay.
We should zero out.
Because I saw that on the one that you presented a while ago for the 21-22, that you had the amount and then you had the expenditure, and then at the end, the balance was zero. So I take it that that's the same thing that we're looking for the 2021 budget, which is right now, we're currently in.
That is correct. Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir. That is right.
Thank you.
Thank you. If we don't have any more questions, that concludes the public hearing on the budget and the tax rate.
Mary, has anybody else signed up for?
We're going to go ahead and move into our regular special board meeting. The time is 5:41. And I call this special meeting to order. If we can please stand for the pledge and a moment of silence. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We may be seated. We do not have anybody in open forum, item number 2, so we're going to go ahead and move on to item number 3. Superintendent's report, discussion and possible action to endorse TASB Region 1, Position A, and Region 1, Position B. Ms. Castañeda, is there?
Yes, ma'am. You all have in your packet the information for our TASB Board of Directors, Position A. And who will you be endorsing there? Is there a recommendation?
Any questions?
I don't, I mean, can you name those? Because obviously they're in the,
Yes, sir.
In
We
the
have
system.
Mr. Jesus Amaya from Los Fresnos CISD, Mr. Ricardo Pedraza from Far San Juan Alamo ISD, and Colonel Perez from Donna ISD.
I move that we endorse Mr. Robert Perez, Don ISD.
Do I have a second? Okay, second by Ms. Watts. Colonel? How do you vote? Mr. De Los Rios? Mr. Valdez? Mr. Reyna? And I also vote in favor. Motion carries. Moving on to consent agenda, board members, you,
We do need someone for position B as well.
oh, I'm so sorry. Let's go back. Position B were?
For position B out of Region 1, we have Ms. Sylvia Sanchez Garza.
She's the only one.
She's the only.
Okay.
I move that we endorse Sylvia M. Garza. Is that correct?
Okay. I have a motion by Mr. Castillo, second by Ms. Watts. Colonel?
Approve.
Mr. De Los Rios? Mr. Valdez? Mr. Reyna? And I also vote in favor. Motion carries. Going on to item number 4, consent agenda. If there's any questions on that? If not, do I have a motion to approve consent agenda as presented? Moved by Mrs. Watts, second by Mr. De Los Rios. Mr. Castillo?
In favor.
Colonel? Mr. Valdez? Mr. Reyna? And I also vote in favor. Motion carries. Moving on to executive session. The time is 5:44, and we will be moving into executive session as authorized by Texas Government Code Sections 551, 071, 072, 073, 074, 075, 076, 082, 083, and 084. Everybody back on?
You want, we can give you a red book for your ordinance? And we're gonna write. Going back to regular meeting. I mean, I think we're still gonna have to have a number. Everybody else? Pardon, you're on? We can wait.
The time is 6:51 and we are back in open session to take possible action on matters discussed in executive session. A, discussion and possible action to approve superintendent's recommendation of personnel, approval of recommendation for professionals to include hiring and termination recommendations. Do I have a motion? Okay, I have a motion by Ms. Watts. Second by David. Mr. Castillo?
In favor.
Arnold?
favor.
Mr. Valdez?
Favor.
Mr. Reyna?
In favor.
And I also vote in favor. Motion carries. Discussion, possible action to approve pending or contemplated litigation, settlement matters, and or matters where the professional duty under state board requires private consultation with a school attorney. No action. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Okay, a motion by Ms. Watts. Second by David. Mr. Castillo?
In favor.
Arnold?
In favor.
Mr. Valdez?
Favor.
Mr. Reyna?
In favor.
And I also vote in favor. Motion carries. Meeting adjourned. Have a great evening.